there's so many different topics that you can pick from. Your abstract is one of the tools that will allow you to go to conferences, for instance, to make a presentation. Even if it's a poster presentation, you still have to develop your abstract because that's how you introduce yourself to the foundations, to the different organizations. And again, what we're seeing now is the possibility that if you send your abstract to a conference and they accept you, many times the proceedings will be published in an international journal. And that qualifies to meet your graduation requirements. Now, not all conferences, like local ones here, not all conferences will publish in an international journal. So if you're being selective and you're sending your abstract to do a conference, look at whether they will make that offer. In some cases, you may have to pay a fee to be published in an international journal. We have an office here, the Research and Publication Office. We're supported by national funding through the Ministry of Education, as well as international funding through organizations like the World Health Organization or the National Institute of Health Sciences in America. So there is a lot of support for you, a lot of funding that can provide you a very similar stipend for your living expenses, travel expenses. And it is based on the scenario that if we provide for you, okay, then you can do what you're supposed to do. Apply this gift and develop it into a tool that you can contribute to the medical community. All of your research is important. In some cases, it may be life and death issues. And of course, it discusses current topics. And the community, the world community, shares in these ideas. So that's what we expect, that we can help you with your funding, we can help you with your writing skills, for instance, but we can also help you in other ways. So for instance, once you develop an abstract, if you want me to look at it, send me an email. In one day, maybe a couple days, I'll send it right back. And I'll give you two versions. I'll give you a version with tracking, so you can see the changes in editing, and I'll give you the same version without tracking. You can proofread it, submit it, and you're off to Australia for your first conference. Who has done a conference in here? Everyone? No one. Okay. Bloom. It is part of what Tridharma. It is an approach here. Most universities require you to, let's say Tyrone has extra time on Wednesday. I would ask him to be my teacher assistant. There's one Tridharma. Then he publishes. Second Tridharma. Then he continues his research and applies that research into maybe a funding for a grant or something like that. So there are many approaches, aspects to your education that are evolving. This year especially puts more emphasis on your academic writing. And it may be an area that you can be empowered. And that's why I would give you something like this. Okay? We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. My undergraduate, Latin and Greek education. I love this. This is my glossary dictionary. It's like my Bible. It gives me the code for every word that I would ever want to learn. But it's a little different if you're not interested in it. If I were to just say, oh, okay, what about I take a sound, and if I cannot decode the sound, I'm lost. That sometimes in our reading, we might have to look in the dictionary. We might have to look at words that are new and try to figure out their meaning from the context in the sentence. But if we take those roots, like we did with code, and we start to see that this is a substitute for a word. So to decode is to read the word down on the page. And to encode is to put the word into a sentence. But these are prefixes and suffixes, and they're limited to mostly Latin and Greek roots. We do have some challenges in English because were a composite language. So for instance, if we call it a composite, what does this word mean? Consist of, right. Usually, of course, we might call your essay a composition, right? So we have this word in the middle, posit, or even position with. And if we think of an example like Bahasa, Indonesia, how many languages is Indonesia composed of? This is very complex linguistics because composite languages are unique. So in Indonesia, there are 745 languages in Indonesia. In India, how many do you think? Yeah, just about 1,000. Right? And a lot of Sanskrit was brought into Indonesian language. So Indonesian language uses Sanskrit. What is a good example of Sanskrit? It is ashram idea, right? Ashrams are communities like Kechamatans or desas here. But this was mathematical. Beneka, meaning almost like the whole universe, everything. Beneka, many things, many people. And this is very cognate. Many people living in the ashram, in many people fused into Eka, in unity, in the heart, in the mind, in the language, and we borrow it from Sanskrit. And of course, we borrow a lot of words from Arabic, right? Every day we hear it, right? It is what? La ilaha illallah Allah. It becomes a challenge, right? Because you have to write it this way, but in English I have to write it that way. It makes your eyes go back and forth. It is hard. And this is so famous, right? Shada, like La ilaha illallah Allah. And we borrow this from Arabic, right? What is the rest of it? Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. And yet every day we might not know its meaning. It means except the one, right? And we read it. So no la illallah, except the one God. Actually, this one is no God except the one God. And we have so many words that we borrow. We borrow, for instance, the word for letter, Arabic word. And what about the word for sentence? In Arabic, it is kalimat, right? It means huruf in Arabic, Aloha Arabiya. But kalimat originally come from this word. An animal in the ocean. What is it called? An octopus. Now, why would a sentence be related to an octopus in the ocean? The source of ink, sumber, is calamari. So the ancient Arabic scribes, they used the ink from the calamari, from the octopus, to write the sentences. And later, in Indonesia, we borrow these words, huruf, kalimat. What are some other composite languages in Indonesia? Javanese, monggo. Javanese words. What else? How about Chinese words? The oldest word in the world is actually, it is ancient Mongolian. Yeah, it meant like symbol in Mandarin, kata. So Indonesian language is what we call a composite language. And many languages beyond this, including English. We have a lot of English words now. But let's look at English in its history. As a composite language, it has Old English, and then it has like Middle English, Shakespeare. It has Modern, which is British and American, and probably we should say in slang, like SMS language, right? And we have a lot of other languages. Even Native American languages, we borrow words from them, all composite into one language. And this makes it difficult. This makes it kind of a challenge that you have to put the two languages or your own language, like we were saying Fiji language or French language, and you have to recognize that English has a lot of genres, like we were talking about. It has the informal language, has the more formal scientific language, and all of them are rooted into sounds, parts of speech. And here is one way that you can increase your skill. Because of limitations in time and your advanced level, we won't spend more time on this. But we can look at this dictionary, also called a glossary, and this is comprehensive. This is A through, well, Y, there's no Z here. These are the most common words that people make a mistake. So for instance, right here, this word, many people will spell it like this. Two words that sound the same, but they're spelled different. Okay? They're homonyms. And again, we will not spend much time. We can just kind of look through, like on page 142, there is this word here. Two words, they sound the same. But if you extend it, sometimes you can see that these words are very different. And this one usually with a U sound. Also, you can sometimes see that there are differences in the way that it's pronounced. Just slight differences that tell you it's a verb or a noun. There's so many good examples here. What Here's one that you don't see talked about that much. Originally, when I first learned computer, we had and so my first computer had 8, 16, and 32K. But now, even terabytes, way above my head. My son in America is engineer, and he explained there's new technology called cloud technology. It's terabyte system all over the world. Amazing. So we don't use this anymore. We use data as plural. And it's just become universal. Certain usages over time, like Old English, Middle English, they fall out of use. Some words, they stay the same, like dog, brother. Probably they will always remain actively used in the language. But sometimes slang is really crazy. Okay? For example, there was a phrase. My son said, "We want to go to the mall. We're going mobbing at the mall." Now, when I was young, a mob was like Suharto, right? You know, fighting in the street with clubs. A mob or a gangster, right? But now it means they go to the mall and they say, "Look, new shoes." They show off their fashion or their new spinner, like the palm spinner. So there's other words like this that change meaning. Like this. I get a Cepeda motor, Suzuki 250, right? And my son, he see it and he go, "Ah, that's sick. That's sick." I'm like, "What? Say hot? What? Socket?" No. It means awesome. It's cool. So it's a slang. And in academic writing, in SMS, and this is very Galak, this is strict, okay? You can send it to a British Journal of Pharmacology. It is like New England Journal of Medicine. They will not even respond if you have slang words, if you don't write in proper scientific English. So that's why we have tried to include as much outside material. Again, I don't want to spend more time here on things that you can do at home. But this glossary, it's kind of interesting. So take some time at home. And let's go forward with a simple worksheet. Any time in particular? All the time? Sometimes? And you can have it in your phone, right? Google Translate. It is like a dictionary. And then we have to look at a dictionary as a friend, as someone who can give you privileged information, give you meaningful information. Many of you are going to use a dictionary like this one, okay? It will be, right? Especially in today's publications, these katakunchi, these key words, are very important for the spider browsers, for Google to browse, for the databases to connect your information to relevant sites. It uses katakunchis. Now, when we look at this, yeah, we can probably look at disadvantages and advantages of using a glossary. Again, this is just another word for a dictionary. And what are some disadvantages? Can someone think of something as a disadvantage to a dictionary? I'm sorry?
The hardbound dictionary, you mean?
Well, that's a good point. Like, it used to be, it was kind of hard to carry it around, right? You had to always have it with you wherever you wanted it, right? So it's a burden. And then probably related to this concept, it's encoded, right? So if we look down here at this one, it has a lot of code. It has a code for pronunciation. It has stress marks, for instance. It has hyphens. It has parts of speech. And it has abbreviations. Okay? So usually it is abbreviated. Okay, so that under the first definition, it says the first definition is TRV. What does that mean? Good. Yep. And of course, like here, this is kind of me as old school. Archaic means old. The old meaning. It meant to fix something or arrange it, to prefix it. But now we have grammar meanings. What about this one? In number, what is it? 1A, it has N. What's N mean? Yep. So here we have a verb, and it takes an object. He prefixed the document. So it takes an object. It's transitive. We can also see that, what is it? It's called, it's an affix. It is what? Something attached. Right? And then example. This, as in so this is an affixation or prefix. And it is an antonym form, and it means he didn't believe me. He disbelieved me. Or it modifies the meaning, as in preheat. So here it means before. So just like here, the prefix changes the meaning in the case of antonym, but it can also modify the meaning. It doesn't change the word heat. It tells you that it's preheated or pre-cooked. We see a lot. My favorite part, again, a dictionary provides you what I am. I'm an etymologist. I don't study insects. I study ethionym. Etio meaning source, like etiology of cancer, you study the source of cancer. Etionym, so most dictionaries will give you the history of a word. So this one comes from the Latin praefixum. So 2,000 years ago, people were using this word, but now we just use this word. And most dictionaries at the very bottom will give you alternate forms. So you have adjective form, AL, and an adverb form. Now some people may ask me, why emphasize the dictionary so much? Like this matrix, I believe it's a solution to language problems, challenges that you might have learning English. If you take the time to look up a definition of a word, it can be a kind of odyssey, an experience in learning. Even if we take one example like this. What is this symbol? What do we call it? Dash. Now, how many meanings do you think there are for this one word? There's 23 different meanings for this symbol. There's verb, right? Like I dashed to the store for bread, right? Or I ran in the Olympics in the 100-yard dash. So noun. Right? Also noun. Symbol, right? So like evidence based. And then noun, what? Let's see. This, just a dash of salt, right? Just a dash of pepper, meaning a little bit. And the list goes on. 23 different meanings for one symbol. It is like this. It is a code. So what does this code mean? Yep. It is this part, like Rx, but it comes by extension now to mean prescription. Again, we see the symbol every day, but the code is what I'm talking about. That we see this symbol all the time. I use it everywhere. So you have to learn to apply the matrix. So let's try some of these exercises. We don't have to do all of them. Prefix has how many meanings? More than one, right? How many? 5. 5 meanings, okay? So we have grammar, verb, and then down below we have the versions, and then we have the history that I like. That's some really interesting code, right? Middle English through Middle French to Latin praefixus, from the verb participle praefigere, and then earlier Novo Latin praefixum, neuter form praefixus. That's the etymology. But look down below at number 2. How many syllables are in prefix? Good. And what symbol is used to divide the symbol? What do we call it? A dot. Yeah. Or a period if it's at the bottom, at the end of a sentence, we call it full stop. So we're starting to see that these codes, like dash, like dot, like colon, like semicolon, and then this one. In Arabic, it is pronounced wa. It come into English as a comma, and it equals wa. And if you rearrange the letters in Indonesia, Dan, right? No, Don. Not the name Dan. All based on an early symbol that's been used for thousands of years. It is like a mathematical formula. Kalimat octopus, right? Octopus. The mathematical equation for a sentence is challenging for people who don't think mathematically. But that's what academic writing and scientific writing, it's what it's all about. Making your writing mathematical, systematic, and evidence-based. Using the matrix. Using something simple. So that instead of just seeing this symbol and thinking prescription, then you start to say, wait. In French, récupérer. Take. Take 2 times every day. Right? Here's that symbol times. In that code breaking, that's all you're doing. Reading and writing for what? Meaning. Let's look at a couple of the other examples here. We don't have to do them all. Let's say number 2 in exercise 2. One of my favorite Greek words. Can anyone pronounce it? Yes, good. Glossolalia. Glossa, old Greek word for lida, tongue, and it meant language. And then this is like la 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 la, like a child. La 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 la, glossolalia. Glossolalia. So for example, I can use this symbol, or I can use these symbols, right? I can say it, etc., right? In Greek and Latin, it was the letter and the number were the same. So, alif, ba, ta, that is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So these languages were developed into a form of first, obviously, speaking, and then later into writing. How many syllables? Is that right? What do you think? Let's check. Okay. Here. Hanya satu, dua. Maaf. I code switch a lot between Indonesian and English. So I will try to refrain and only speak in English. If we use this page, I know it's really small, but try to find the word glossolalia. And how many syllables? So we've got 1, 3. Okay. And again, it uses this symbol for the syllables. Now, why is this important? Because when we change parts of speech and a verb becomes a noun, the number of syllables might change. Let's look at another one. Number 4, glycerol. Who wants to answer that one? What are the key words that tell you how to pronounce the A or O in the first pronunciation for glycerol? Probably some of you have already looked at this, right? I mean, usually you see this in front of it, right? LDLs, dense lipids. Okay, so this word is important in our science. In fact, for me, I have high cholesterol. It is very important for me. I could have a stroke if I have too much glycerol, especially if it becomes glycerin. But in the pronunciation of this word, it has glis, and then it has this funny word here, and then that's the first pronunciation. It's the most common pronunciation. And this word, this letter, is what we call a schwa. It is like a short A. So let's see. If I want to think of a good example, short A or long A, let me think of a good one. So we have long and short vowels. A is short, A is long. Okay? And then we have this one. So A, it is only a half of a breath. And you can tell because here is the noun. Here is the verb. Breath. Breathe. Breathe. Okay? It is hard to hear the sound difference. Now, why would this sound become important? Because we use it in definite articles. And a dictionary gives you an advantage. Here are our disadvantages, and especially in accent, which we call inflection, it will also give us multiple meanings. Because the difference between these two is one sound, a very short schwa sound. This is the noun, breath. Any, breathe. Can you try that? Breath. Breath. Breathe. Yeah. So this part here is a challenge for most speakers because it is aspirated. And it becomes especially hard when it is spelled with the S sound. This is pronounced shun. So for instance, nation. Not nation, right? We could use it as a strong T in this word, native. So here the T sound is clear, but here aspirated into the or sh. Again, these are very difficult sounds to distinguish. Let's try a couple more and then you can try another one. Try number 8. So the question is, what word must you look up to find glossographer? I heard the right answer. Yes. So here is the general noun. Right? General. Here is the specific. Just like our biologist or biology. Let's see. Let's do one more for medicine. Number 10. From what two languages has the word glucose come from? Two languages in the etymology of glucose. And it is so small I cannot see it. Where is it? French and Greek, right? Yeah, French from the Greek glucose, right? So 2,000 years ago, this is how the Greeks called it. Almost the same. You can hear the similarities. We have softened this from a hard K, like chapat or chukup. K and C sometimes can be softened. But think about this word and its complexity. How many types of blood sugar are there? Anyone know? Sucrose. What's the next one? And my baby child's favorite? Lactose. So we're talking here all different types of sugars developed from an original Greek concept. Now again, why would the etymology of these words be important? Because there was a person, we often spell his name like this, and the symbol for him, I'm not a very good artist, is like this. The symbol for medicine. And in one of the publications by Aristotle, it is developed into the earliest scientific method. It starts with a very initial stage. We call it right? Then what? Yep. Or in the Greek, we call it an outcome. So these old words are still used. Every single day we talk about these things. Of course, we don't use this very much, but it is used more in British general practitioners, cathartic treatments to help people to heal and recover. But again, this process probably started almost 3,000 years ago when someone devised a scientific method, they had to make these sounds. And they had to take this sound first. So we say, no, we don't use this that often. We might use it in this word. Here it is right here. It is also spelled like this. And we don't put this here anymore, it's become silent. It's so silent that we don't even say the K sound. It is knowledge, not know. It is just know, right? And it comes from this old word, gnosis. It is not gnosis, gnosis. Okay? And then this is, of course, it is the prefix meaning through. Right? Like in a circle, the diameter is the middle line in the circle. Measure through the middle. So here we have diagnosis. To recognize through and that's what Aristotle taught in the academy in Athens, Greece, starting around 550 BC or BCE. Evidence-based methods used in medicine. It is not a new concept. It's thousands of years old. Just like the language that we use. Again, all we do when we use the dictionary is we just take advantage of the resources, right? You want to learn something new, read the dictionary. Look up a word every day. Find something new to add to your knowledge. It becomes a way of life. Like this word here. What if I put this word? This is the verb, right? The noun, respiration. Or when he turned this off, what do I do? Perspire, right? Or with this word here, maybe I can aspire, right? And then inspire, perspire. And then your bread, it has a date. So obviously, inspire and expire, these were the old words. To breathe in and breathe out. But it's all rooted on this word. If you looked it up in the dictionary, it would have other roots. So for instance, and this is in like a mosque or a masjid, gereja, the top of the church. Right? And it have tatanga, steps that spiral. It is the idea that we raise our hopes and our prayers up to the one source of our life, Sumber Kehidupan Kita. And it is responsible for every aspect of our life. Again, this is how we can have some interesting knowledge just written in front of us and we may not recognize it. I don't think we need to do more on this one. See if there's one in the back. I think that's good enough. If you could put that in your folder and maybe work on it later, what I'd like to do is talk more about English language. So as a linguist, I'm interested in how could Kalimat and calamari, how could they be related? How could a word like retan, right? How could, over time, how could these sounds be shared? In the Old English, it's especially interesting. This one. It is from a tree called the bok, right? Because the bark, the kulit pohan, was used to make a book. To make paper today, we still use trees to make paper or plants. Again, paper from Egypt, Coptic language, borrowed from Latin. And of course, this is an interesting one. Now, why would a pen or a pencil, why would it be related to a feather? Exactly. Before magic markers and crayons, ini dengan ink. So we use nature to develop our language. We use trees and plants, animals, feathers, and the ink of an octopus. And of course, at the bottom, we can always have fun with this. And this is what we see the challenge in language is that words can change over time. So fun, what part of speech is this? Yeah. And usually it's written like this, like fun time or he's a funny man, right? So we've changed it a little bit. But it originally, istemewa, it meant as a noun, like this. So a word as simple as fun has evolved. It has changed in its context. And that's where we have to use the dictionary again to make sure we're clear so that our readers can understand our meaning. These pages here are directly out of a text. Called Unlocking Literacy. It provides dictionary, glossaries, and it talks about reading and writing being very closely connected. So to reinforce this theoretical framework, I want you to look at these different examples. Now, some people, when they outline words or they outline their writing, they like to use a box. Some people make like a bunga, a flower design, like a concept map of the letters. But either way, this is how the matrix works. Once you recognize the root, you will increase your vocabulary maybe by 50,000 words in 1 month. You start hearing the sounds, you start reading the words, and you realize all you're doing is changing prefix and suffix, and you recognize the root. So for instance, in the Old English, there's the word word. Okay? And of course, everyone uses this every day. Usually in a compound. So for instance, password. Or if I talk too much, oh, his lecture was very wordy. And it's Old English, so it's single syllables, a lot of meaning. Okay? Same with this one. We use it every day. On Facebook, I don't like you anymore. I want to unfriend you. You cannot read my wall. Okay, so we use these old words in compounds. English does this a lot. We take a word like school and we make 2 nouns into 1. School and abyss. This is what Tyrone was saying earlier. Sometimes we just reverse it. School bus, bicicleta. It is just reversed. And these compounds are really important in the equation for a sentence. When we put an adjective or an adverb in a sentence, it has a certain placement, a compound placement. Yes, hi. Selamat datang. Okay. Nice to meet you. Here, you can kind of catch up a little bit. Sorry for the mess. I will catch you up at break time. How about?
That's fine.
This is where we are now. What we can see is we'll take a root, like we did with code, and then we can just put it in the center of the matrix. So what is their example there? Struk? Is that? Yeah. So the old Greek word for build, to build, is at the root of almost 20 different vocabulary words. Right? It means to build. Even in a very simple sense. Or it might mean what the gedung is made out of. What it is, right? There's the noun. If we want to make it into verbs, we just inflect. What am I doing? I'm constructing words with letters. What did I do there? I constructed a matrix of the language. What am I doing right now? I'm giving instruction. What does that make me? An instructor. All of it rooted in the combining form. Combining the prefix and a suffix. The prefix changing the meaning slightly. and the suffix changing the part of speech, determining whether it's a verb or a noun. These examples here are interesting because if you look at how many words you can learn, one root provides over 20 new vocabulary words. There are about 300 common roots. And there are about 30 common prefixes. And there are only about maybe, I'd say 10 common suffixes. There are more. How many does that provide you with? Opportunity. In 1 month. And then we have to say, thank God for paracetamol, because it can hurt your head. It is like sakit kapala. It will give you a headache to think that in 1 month's time, you can increase your vocabulary by 50,000 words. Tremendous growth in your brain potential. But not an easy concept. If it's simplified into decoding and encoding, then the key is in your skill to read, to develop comprehension in your vocabulary, and to apply it in scientific and academic writing. So let's try it. Here's an example on the back. It uses the root rupt. Is Tyrone already finished? This guy is a multitasker, right? He's got Facebook open, his Gmail is open, he's got a reference from Google, and he's writing a text, data security. We can call him this. Genius, right? Because he is full of ingenuity, right? But now what does this word mean, right? Let's see. Here's a Sanskrit word. Genie. Uh-oh. I think it means something from Gia or how do they spell it? Jewa. Oh, wait. It is from Jiwa, right? It means spirit, a man with spirit. But our example here is rupt. So how many words can you make? I think we counted one time, there's 35 words that are possible. It means to break. So like structure, we can start inflection in the back. Right? What else? Or my favorite, interruption. Or sometimes also considered only. And since we live in Jogja, yes, it is a big mess sometimes. Notice again, if we just inflect the suffix, there's a lot of choices here in your sentence construction. You can easily take this root and create as many as 30 to 35 new vocabulary words. This one you don't see very often, it's Old English. It means abrupt. It can be an adjective, meaning he's an abrupt person, a bold person. And it also, by extension, it might mean by surprise. The Cepeda motor stopped abruptly, stopped by surprise, stopped suddenly. That's almost the total right there. I think you have almost every one. I think geniuses flock together, right? Maaf. Any questions about this? Quick question to check in as a feedback. Do you like this type of worksheet? Is it helpful? And you understand we're moving from this theoretical framework toward writing, academic writing. So it's going to become more intensive. I'm sorry if you have a headache from it. It is a lot of information all in one session. Normally we would teach this over a number of months, but Gajah Mada has adopted a short block, so it's very intensive. Just a couple weeks and you have everything you want to know about epidemiology or biomedicine. In this case, everything you would want to know about academic writing, plus some things. Good, good. If you get 10 words, I am very, very happy. If you only have 2, please, lebih usaha, make more effort. Again, what I'm seeing and what is a sure sign of S-TIGA candidates is right here. S-TIGA candidates make notes. They're learning in the class from the lecture, but they're also writing down thoughts, ideas. It is very important. Definite S-TIGA candidacy. Of course, then we have the professor proficiency there with the computer open, and you can friend me on your wall when you go to Facebook. Ma'af, I just joke a little bit with him. As a kind of reinforcement for this, what I can do is give you another simple worksheet. This one we don't have to do anything with. It is for your reference. This will help you in forming new words, and it may be of an aid even in doing this at home. So let's go ahead and close up this worksheet, and you can work on it later. Just go ahead and put it in your folder. And let's take a look at the next handout. Let's see. These all go. Here. Got one here. Here's one for you. These all go back here. Again, these are derivational for word formation. They explain how verbs are changed into adjectives by simple changes, and they are simply a list of derivations or inflections that are put after a word, usually. But some prefixes are included at the bottom of this page. Oh, yeah, maaf. I know that I talk fast sometimes. Usually I drink coffee with ginseng, so I'm like really dancing today. And we cover material in such a way that I need to give like a summary. So this is basically what I've been talking about for the last 2 hours. Okay? And this is a... Oh, maaf. It enables you to just reference it. If you have an idea that you want to create a word, then here's some of the word changes that you can make. This can help you in your scriptsy. In your speaking, you have to practice a little more because sometimes the word will change slightly. Okay? So it's a matter of practice. if we look at a couple of examples, let me look at a good one here. As a noun, how do we make it a verb? So noun. Good. And maybe in British English, or you'll see this written sometimes with S or Z. Okay, the meaning's still there. But notice that I put this here. So it's the past participle, and it becomes an adjective. So I could say, so we've gone from noun, verb, to adjective. But if I say, now it's a verb. So this part of speech can be a verb or a kata sifat, an adjective. And this is part of the challenge in English. Sometimes is to decide how to use that word in the most descriptive way. Let me maybe look at one other example. If you're in department psychologie or psychiatry, probably you know about, what is it? I think that's right. Proxol. In America, it is called Valium, right? It is essential list of medicines. It's used in surgery for anesthesia, and it's prescribed as an antidepressant in the general population. Again, what we have here is this part of the word. It looks interesting, like it replaces, but it has a stronger meaning, right? Now the problem is, or the challenge, is that we also have this. The only difference between these two prefixes is E and I, and they're pronounced almost the same. So for instance, now it becomes anatomy, right? What is the opposite? Posterior. Yep. So we have like here serratus latus, anterior, serratus latus posterior, right? And this is telling us anatomically where it is in the body. And these are used a lot in describing blood chambers in the heart, in describing cambria in the brain. This is really, really important. How to distinguish simple prefixes so that you can understand the code that's used in most medical jargon. I'd love to spend more time on this, but I'd like to move forward. if there's no questions, what I think we can do is go ahead and I think we have time for this. Take a small quiz. This will test to see your familiarity with a wide range of prefixes, suffixes, and roots in the context of a sentence. Many of you already Dr. MD or Professor Chalon. The answers are given to you at the top, but they are in code. Now we have an option. Do you want to do it sendiri or together? Together? Okay, let's do it together. I'll do the first one. Blank means relating to relationships between people. Which one? Yeah, it could be.
Indigenous.
Good, good. Yep. So we have, here's people, right? Person, personal, and then here's the word in between. So the answer to number 1 is P. Interpersonal means relating to relationships between people. Now pay attention, these are sometimes trick questions. The part of speech may be hidden. So blank people or things belong to the country in which they're found. Rather, what was it? Good, good. So indigenous, M people, indigenous people. Or an event happens or is done once every 2 years. Which one is it? Biennial or who thinks it's this one? What do you think? Okay, let's do it like this. If you don't know, you can look it up in the dictionary later. Okay, that'll answer the next 2. So here's another one. A blank is a device or drug prevents a woman from becoming pregnant. Good, good. Okay. Now look at the code in that word, right? Here's the word for conceive. Wait, I before E, except after C. So that's right. Conceive, right? Here is the word concept or conception. And then we have this word. So this means against or preventing. Contraception. Blank is a person who's left their country to live in another. I take it personal. That's what I am, right? I'm an immigrant. Actually, permanent resident here. I'm Indonesian, Javanese, what we say, Wanazarian. Intermission, so in between. When a vehicle or machine blanks, the speed is reduced. Good. So we have to go faster, right? So when we exercise, we have accelerated heartbeat. But the opposite, de-accelerate. Also on a car, the gas pedal is called an accelerator. Blank stage level is one that occurs between 2 other stages. Intermedia, right? Media meaning in the middle, and inter meaning between, intermediate. If someone is blank, they're living in a foreign country because they cannot live in their own country, usually for political reasons. That's not me. That's not me at all. Except now, I'm glad to be out of the Trump circus. Okay, if something blank heat, light, gas, or smell, it produces and sends it out by means of physical chemical process. Emission, right, emit. Next, if you blank someone from a place, you prevent them from entering it. Good, exclude, yep. Next one, if you say that something is blank, you mean you cannot eat it. For example, it tastes bad. Inedible, right? Inedible. So the in in that word means not. Okay, someone who is blank is attracted to both men and women. Tyrone? My off. What is trisexual then? What? Transgender, I guess. My off. Okay, next one. You can refer to a short journey out or an outing as a blank, especially if it's for pleasure or enjoyment. Excursion. An excursion is like a trip to the beach. An excursion. To blank a law or rule means to do something against it. Good. Everyone see that one? To contravene. You broke the law. You contravene the law. When something such as a tire or balloon blanks, all the air comes out. Good. We did that one earlier, right? To blank someone with a substance such as a medicine means to put it into the body using this syringe. Good, good. And finally, to blank something means to remove all germs or dangerous substances. What is it? Good. Very, very important to have good hygiene. One of the more important words here that we see, let's see if I want to, well, let's just look at one. The root for in this context we had this word. Okay? By extension, it meant so the meaning has an extended meaning. But the root is very, very common. Such as yeah. Yeah. You can see it has a kind of unique extension, not only to come, but also in the sense of like an idea or a place. And then maybe by extension we can also see that it means that air comes into the person. So when you put a mask on a patient, you put a ventilator on them. It allows for air accessing to come into their lung. So we often use this in the ER room. Why don't you try this, Sandiri, just a little bit. Try to match them up, and I'll organize a couple of things for the final activity. Logic would dictate you can use process of elimination. As you narrow down your possibilities, the probability of getting the right answer eventually becomes 50-50 for the last two. When you have 4 possible answers, you have 25% probability of getting the right answer. Statistical analysis just expands those percentages of probability. So when we talk about methods in statistics, we're really talking about the possibility of narrowing down our variables, eliminating confounding variables, and identifying the more meaningful answers. Well, some of you are wizards at this, amazingly quick. Of course, Tyrone is almost done, and his compatriot in ingenuity. Are you guys sharing answers? Or? No. It's amazing. It's like synergy. It's really not fair for us slow learners. So quick. She's done. She has only one left. 'Tis not fair.
She's more genius than I am.
Probably because she's sitting next to you, right? Trying to impress you more.
It's the other way around.
Oh, trying to impress her.
No.
You kind of wear matching clothes too. It's blue and white. It's like complementary. Even match your shoes. Well, let's help each other. We have this Javanese expression, gotong royong. It is a synergy where we can work together, and that's what the medical community does. We help each other arrive at better understanding. So, who wants to start? Tyrone, number 1. Courage? Courage? Okay. It's definitely a keterangan, definitely a noun. Right? So the ability to control your fear in a difficult or dangerous situation is courage. Now notice number 3 is the verb, right? Encourage. So what's number 3? Good, yeah. What about 2? This one's a little harder. It's kind of a colloquial idiom. Possibly. I think we can... It's the best one, right? Okay, let's try 4. What is it? Probably, yeah, probably H. H. Proud is H. Number 5? C. Okay. Number 6? Yep. Just like, what was it? Lord of the Rings. My precious, my precious. Number 7, bet. Yep. But wait, what? Is that right? E, yes, that's right. Very popular with chickens now. Chicken fights, I guess. People place bets on. Number 8, amazed. Yep, Q, surprised or amazed. Number 9, surrender. Yep. Extraordinary. Yep. Good. 11, jalan, path. Yep. 12, the noun keterangan gratitude. What is it? Well, K is the adjective describing the quality of the person, but T is the noun. So one is gratitude, and the other we decided was feel touched, meaning like it really felt good. 11, this is an old English word, anguish, or 13 rather, buta huruf. P, extreme physical, mental suffering. Okay, temptation. Yep. Ice cream is my temptation, right? Tomorrow we'll probably have ice cream, huh? Deliver. Good. Outrageous. What is it? L. Yeah. Ominous. Yeah. It's an omen, right. Ominous is the adjective. The noun is omen. It's a very scary horror movie. Eradicate. Yep. Now that is an amazing word. We use it in the eradication program for World Health. And then we have a number of agendas here in Indonesia for contagious diseases. They're called eradication programs. We also do it in Jogja for nyamuk, for mosquitoes, eradication program for Plasmodium. And here's one that's very medical, malignant. Yep. Usually associated with cancer, tumors and things like that. And then here's a word I introduced in the beginning of class, descendant. So how would you assess yourself? Are you good at this? 5, 10, excellent. Maybe 1 if you came late. Good, I like that, helping each other. You want to do one more before we leave, or do you want to call it? You want to do more? He's like, yeah, let's do more. You want to do one more? Yes? No? Who wants to do more? No one. Okay. What if I give it to you and you take it home? Okay. Yes, just pass it out if you would. I will try to get everything together if you can do this one. And let's see. Where is it? Thanks. Let's see. This one here. I think it's missing one. No. This is a diagnostic. So just write this and this. Yes, thanks. I'll put some reference texts up here if you want to just check them out. The one in particular with the linguistic approach is in here. This is the masterpiece of Pakyodi. Okay, it is the compendium of all the abstracts from 32 departments. And this one is your 3-month jet airplane ride to publication. It is actually an accelerated course. I incorporate a lot of these ideas, but feel free to glance through as you're leaving. And I'm going to wait until tomorrow to give you these other handouts. I realize that maybe you're not used to old school approach. Some of you may be. So for seniors in the room, we always use handouts because we came before computers. But tomorrow I have a PowerPoint. I don't know how to use it, but I'll try to make it interesting. I do know how to use it, I'm kidding. But mostly we will use basic worksheets, and our focus by the end of tomorrow's class sessions will be an abstract and a critique of an abstract. So we'll look at an abstract sample, and then we'll probably have some workshop time for you to try to generate the basic outline, the skeleton of an abstract. Again, it's your key to going someplace. If you want to go to a conference this year, it's not too late. There's a very, very large HIV, sexual health conference in Australia. It is published as an international journal. There's another one in Thailand concerning Zika, I think it is. Okay, and again, we're in close enough proximity where those are reasonable flight costs. Lodgings and food, makanan gratis, is usually provided. And these are great opportunities for you. When I asked if anyone in here has presented yet, no one said yes. Now either you're very modest or malu, or I realize that there's a deficit there. So not only do you have to make a publication for an international journal, but you are expected to present at a conference. They can be the same thing. If you're selective, if you go to the right conference and present, you will be published in an international journal. But not all conferences do that, okay? So I'm not wanting to mislead you. I want to encourage you tomorrow to create an abstract, at least a kind of rough draft for one. And then I can help you. Some abstract, like rough drafts, can be 500 words. I saw one abstract 2 pages long. But then they were asked to reduce it to 250 words. And that's my specialty. I can help you choose different, phrases, different ways to eliminate repetition in your abstract. And in the end, you just need to know that basic introduction, background, methods, results, and conclusion. You're already familiar with it. Pakyodi and the other presenters will give you a very intensive education. Again, just remember those 3 rules. Okay? The first one, what is it? Relax. Yeah, please don't forget to breathe. It's really scary to resuscitate people. And what's the last one? Oh, yeah. Thanks for reminding me. And if you remember that in your other classes, it'll carry you through. Because I know that in the epidemiology class, some of the forensic medicine topics, it's ilmusedi, it's a sad science in many of the case studies. Okay, and we're dealing with some paradigm shift in terms of disease prevalence right now. So we're seeing still high prevalence of infectious disease like HIV or malaria, but at the same time we're dealing with a huge population in the world of overweight people who don't exercise, and they're having strokes, they're having heart attacks, and they're dying of diabetes. So we have some real issues, life and death issues, that in your research topics, I hope that you really take it to heart, that we are here as a community. None of you are working alone. So we create a support structure, not only in the classroom, but outside of class. When you're ready to send your abstract, come see me in Clinic Bahasa or send me an email and I'll do the grammar for you. I'll help you with the spelling. I can also help with scriptsies. The last scriptsy that I did, 450-page Estiga. Now again, it's my hobby. It's what I do. It's like what we say, takwa. It's my service to the community. As a junior, I was trained as a first responder. I'm a paramedic. But I don't like to see blood and I don't like to see people die. So I take a medical education approach. But some of you may be researchers in the field. So be careful. There's a lot of infection even in Jogja, especially with water quality standards, very low. So if you eat at the warung, if you go around after 2 years here, probably you've all had your share of it. But you have to realize too, some of you may be laboratory scientists. Some of you may just be very strong in statistics, some sort of methodology. Okay, so there's also administrative issues too. So health policy promoters, oftentimes they don't work in the lab, they don't work in the field, they don't teach at a university, but they're implementing programs. They're writing grants for funding. So there's a lot of options for you. And in order for you to get there in the future, you have to publish. You have to focus on your writing and realize that we're here to help you. Thanks for coming. Again, there's some text here. If you can take some time, I'll help you with the other work.